Bayou Jeep Bash 2026 will be held March 27th through 29th at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale. Hosted by Bayou Jeep Club and NOLA Motorsport Park, Bayou Jeep Bash is Louisiana's only dedicated Jeep lifestyle event. The weekend will feature off-road obstacle courses, trail rides, live music, local food vendors, aftermarket Jeep parts, vendor village, arts and craft vendors, and on-site camping. The trail ride will take Jeepers on a self-guided off-road adventure designed for all experience levels. The obstacle course will challenge drivers with a variety of off-road features designed to test skill, control, and vehicle capability. The entertainment lineup for the weekend will feature live performances from Shorts in December, Brian Foray, and Junior and Something Sneaky. Bayou Jeep Bash 2026, March 27th through 29th. Register now at BayouJeepBash.com.
Chocolate lovers rejoice. Scandalous Chocolates has arrived in New York with 4 sensational new varieties.
That's right. They aren't just chocolates. They're an experience. Premium edibles crafted with the finest ingredients, blending sweet and savory sophistication.
We're talking 20 milligrams premium chocolate lips, sleekly packaged, perfect for on-the-go indulgence. Nuts, fruits, caramel, it's an affair you can take anywhere.
At just $10, it's an affordable luxury. Fair trade, single origin, gluten-free, and vegan. Find Scandalous Chocolates at quality dispensaries like Travel Agency in Gotham.
Scandalous Chocolates. When you're in New York, awaken your senses and delight your palate.
The affair you could take anywhere. Scandalous. Are you looking for a unique New Orleans experience?
Check out New Orleans artist Frenchie at FrenchieLive.com.
Featuring original artworks, prints, and more. See it all at www.frenchielive.com.
Live event bookings are available. The gallery is open by appointment only.
And for private showings or parties, email info@frenchielive.com.
Experience the art. Experience the artist. Frenchie Gallery. www.frenchielive.com.
Hey, Jay, you hungry? Like really hungry?
Yeah, I'm in the mood for oysters. Hey, let's check out Trenas.
Oysters? I love oysters.
Trenas features a wide variety of local oysters. Char, grilled, baked, and on the half shell, even the famous oyster log.
Oyster log? I heard about that. You get 6 each of their signature baked oysters, plus 6 fried, all on a cypress slab?
42 oysters. We are going to love it. Trenas is located in the Hotel Intercontinental, 444 St. Charles Avenue, right on the parade route.
Sweet. When can we go?
7 days a week for lunch and dinner, plus a mimosa brunch on weekends, and happy hour daily from 3 to 6.
Happy hour? Nah, you're talking my language.
Great drinks, great wine list. An award-winning chef, Matthew Farmer, leads a team serving the best seafood in New Orleans. Trenas.
Trenas. Got it. Let's go.
My husband, as I keep mentioning him, but he calls me the queen of coleslaw because he loves my coleslaw. And that's probably what I would do with, carrots and onions and cabbage. And you can do it the traditional way. I do it with a lot of vinegar and pepper, a little bit of mayonnaise. I don't like it sweet. I like it pretty sharp. And but you could also do it like kind of an Asian style too.
Walking, stepping down the street, y'all, talking, never know who you're gonna meet. Dancing, the groove feels so good to me. Singing, wow, yes indeed, y'all. Soulful living is all we know how to do. In the greatest place on earth, I'm talking about New Orleans, the greatest place I know. My hometown, the greatest place on earth. Yeah, yes indeed, y'all.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and folks of all ages. Welcome back to the Only Good Vibes News Network. your main source for positive information in New Orleans, Louisiana, and beyond. We always start off with a shout out to all of you guys. Thank you for listening, and especially for those folks who listen to us from outside the country. We have a friend of ours, Shecky, who lives in France, who used to paint me up as the Whistle Monsta when he lived here, but he moved over to France. Shecky, thanks for listening. We also have friends, Jack and Sherry, who actually are in Italy, who listen to us. And we want to say thank you to them. And then last but not least, Charlie and Nancy in Costa Rica. We love you guys. Pura vida to you guys. We are grateful for your time, guys, and we're thankful for our sponsors. So let's get these good vibes rolling. First things first, we got the Palo Santos and Sage already burning. And I'm going to pull these two cards. The first card by David Levine has a little word on the front. This one says, right speech, and then just have a thoughtful thing in the back. And we do this because I picked the Zen cards out to share them with you to bring you joy and inspiration, just to start the show. So, right speech. Right speech is back. It says, say little, but when you speak, utter gentle words that touch the heart. Be truthful, express kindness, abstain from vanity. This is the way. And like these cards just help you out throughout the day sometimes. You're like, wow. This car, I lean back on it, and it kind of relaxes me a little bit. So I thought I'd just add it to our show. And then this next one is harmony. Harmony, it says, restore harmony, create peace in all situations. Rather than push the river, flow with it. Now, that was a big thing that has happened to me like this week. I was talking about doing some things, and I was realizing if you flow with the current, rather than fight the current. And as I just turned 59 years old, okay? And then I was having to flow with the current because I was trying to fight it, the gray hair and all this other stuff. But I'm just like, all right, this is a blessing. I have so many people who didn't make it to 59. And that's what I consider flowing with the current. And I had like a 16 top at Galatoire's on Friday. Another big
You guys know
table.
how to celebrate.
We really do. I mean, we all do here. And so it really makes me have a lot of joy and made me flow with the current rather than pushing it. Today's guest is a leader in the kitchen, a proud mentee, a mentor to plenty, a hospitality legend, a chef New Orleans loves and knows well. Today we have the pleasure of welcoming the legendary Susan Spicer.
Well, hello.
Susan,
how you doing, Leroy?
I am very excited.
As am I.
I've been a huge fan of yours forever. Like, who hasn't, right? You're really, I mean, I could talk forever, obviously, but I'm going to try and keep it in, like, just not falling all over you. But it's amazing what you do. And I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to have you here.
Thank you. I'm just a hardworking girl.
Yes. That's what everybody wishes they can be, right? But, at the beginning of she's at the beginning of a new chapter in your life too.
Sort of. I'm actually doing what I've been doing for about the last year, which is really just kind of working my own schedule. I'm not stepping away entirely just because I'm still vital. I still need to do what I love doing. So I'm working like 3-4 days a week and making my own schedule, just not working those late nights, not working those 14, 15-hour days anymore, spending more time with my husband, which I enjoy.
Very talented guy.
Yeah, he is that. And fun and funny and,
well, you deserve
smart and
all
interesting.
that, Susan. You put your time in. I guess the whole world just sighed, of New Orleans anyway, just a sigh of relief when you were like, I'm not stepping down. That's like, right?
and it's great. Really, I'm mostly, I'm only doing Rosedale right now, my little joint in Mid-City. And, I have a great chef there, Allie Birdsall. And
I was on a show with her. She's really good.
Yeah.
She's fun.
Me
and her and Jason Seiler was on the news together. I was trying.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I was trying not to eat everything before everybody else got in the station.
Yeah. No, she's great. She's got such a good, she's a really good spirit and a great leader for the kitchen, and my partner Jonas, who's also my nephew, even though he doesn't like me to tell people that.
Yeah, he's like, let me go on my own. No, but that's a
right.
good thing. So, Susan, welcome to the show, my friend. It's such an honor to have you here, obviously, especially during Women's History Month, and your most recent decision to, take a step back from the stove after 45 years. Any bucket list things that you thinking about, like maybe a vacation?
Oh, gosh. Well, we've been taking vacations pretty much, mostly road trips. We both love road trips. We love driving, and we've been going up to Maine a lot for the last 6 years or so. And we discovered this little town called Jonesport that's really far down east, kind of towards Nova Scotia, Canada, that area. And it's just a beautiful, non-touristy area. And
sounds relaxing.
It's really great. And in the summer, honestly, much as I love New Orleans, and I do love New Orleans, but I don't love New Orleans in the summertime. I'm not one of those, I love this hot weather people. I really need a break from it. So,
I think a lot of people feel that way, including me.
Yeah, and it's only getting hotter. So
hotter by the minute.
So Maine is a great place to go, but we don't fly too much because we have a little old dog that is
What kind of pup?
Terrier mix,
nice.
just a mutt. But we've had her she's about 18 years old.
What's her name?
Her name is Rattler.
Nice.
Chip
Rattler.
named
Did you
her.
think of the quarterback? People like...
I know, Rattler Spencer. But he named her after this old hunting song.
Oh, cool.
That was like, here, Rattler, here. Because she's a little rat terrier. And
That's awesome.
She loves to chase squirrels and stuff.
So cool.
Not a very pretty name for a pretty little girl dog, but...
I think everybody's naming their animals is just so clever the way that they do it. Because, my daughter at one time, she had a turtle when she was younger. She named it Popsicle.
Go
The
figure.
good thing about a name is it was whatever you wanted to name it, right?
It's what it means to you.
That's awesome. So before we get into anything, I want to ask you, what's the best dish to make with all the produce being thrown from St. Patrick's Day? Like the carrots, onions, and loads of cabbage.
Oh, yeah. Well, my husband, as I keep mentioning him, but he calls me the queen of coleslaw because he loves my coleslaw. And that's probably what I would do with, carrots and onions and cabbage. And you can do it the traditional way. I do it with a lot of vinegar and pepper, a little bit of mayonnaise. I don't like it sweet. I like it pretty sharp. And but you could also do it like kind of an Asian style too, and that's really good. Where you put some.
I never thought about it like that with it. I'm always thinking of like some
smothered cabbage or something. Exactly. Well, that's great too. Cabbage is amazing. It's really good. We went to Serene's place, Dakar Nola, and he actually did lobster that night, and we had lobster, and he just had very simple sautéed cabbage underneath it, but it was he had a lovely butter sauce on it, and it was just, the cabbage, it was great texture, but also really a mild flavor, but it was really elegant, and you don't think of cabbage as an elegant vegetable, but it's very versatile. You can do so much with it, just sautéed with, bacon fat, salt, and pepper.
One of the things I love the most about food is when it's simple like that, but yet just outstanding. And it sounds like that was something that he did. Like you wouldn't think about the way you're putting the butter and all that. And
he had cabbage in a couple of dishes, and it was extraordinary. Really, really lovely.
Cabbage is, I think that's everybody going to be writing that down. The culture in New Orleans is something special and unique. How do you feel that it influenced you as a chef over the years, like the New Orleans flavor?
Oh, man. Well, I didn't, my family wasn't from here. I'm a Navy brat. So we moved here in 1960 onto the West Bank.
Yep. Birmingham.
And exactly. The naval station over there. And my mom was Danish, grew up in South America. We came to New Orleans from the Netherlands, where we'd been for 3 years. So she was a really great cook, and she cooked a lot of different kinds of foods for us. So I didn't really grow up eating New Orleans food. And really, my first, other than, we didn't go out much either. I mean, there were 7 of us, and, my dad was kind of tight with the money, so we didn't go out to eat a lot. My mom cooked a lot, but when we did go out, we went to the A&G cafeteria.
That's the most people when over 6 go.
Or the Frost Top,
Nice.
which was a big treat. But so, my first exposure, when I started cooking at the Louis XVI in 1979, one of my jobs was to cook crew food, family meal. And I didn't know that much. I knew some of the dishes that I knew a lot of stuff I'd learned from my mom, how to make good spaghetti sauce and, things like that. But there was a cook who taught me. Her name was Maddie McKnight. Mm. And she was amazing. I loved Maddie, and she taught me how to cook smothered pork chops and green beans and, those kinds of things. Yeah, so that was when I started learning kind of about New Orleans food, but also probably about 10 years earlier than that, when I was in my high school years, I started going over to Buster Holmes and eating there at the counter at Buster Holmes. Yeah. Wow. So that, I guess, now that I think about it, that would be my really
alerted you a little bit to
oh
some
my
things.
Gosh. And the thing I ate there was the cheapest and the simplest thing was rice with some of the pan gravy.
I gotta tell you, Susan, like my grandmother made the best rice and gravy. Like you probably know this better than I would. I'm a 6th generation New Orleanian. I love rice. Like
I do
love
too.
Rice.
I do love rice.
Really love it. I used to eat it over eggs and rice. I mean, anything with rice from New Orleans.
I'm with you.
Even potatoes. I used to laugh because I was like, stewed
Potatoes
potato. Like this is super carb starch roll, right? It's cut up potatoes with like smothered over with sausage and stuff like that over rice. But it was delicious.
Oh yeah, man.
It's crazy.
I'm with you. But that rice and gravy, man, that brings back. It was the simplest thing, and it was just.
So it was a brown gravy too, huh?
Yeah, not thick, not a real thick. So it was more like drippings with the little,
or like whatever.
Yeah,
gravy.
I think it was chicken drippings and probably pork, and just a little what we would call a deglaze, where you put a little liquid in the pan with it, maybe a little chicken stock or something, and then just mix up the bits and pour it over the rice. It was a not a thickened gravy.
Let me just ask you off the wall question here. When did you know and you felt like I love cooking and I'm going to be a chef?
Well, probably it started with a friend of mine. Well, like I said, I was always a great eater because my mom was a good cook. She cooked so many different kinds of foods for us. Right. Well, all of us in my family, all my siblings, we love food. Most of us love to cook. My mom she'd do meatloaf one day, and then the next day she'd do a beef curry that she learned in Holland, and then she'd do her Danish roast pork with red cabbage, and then she did, you never knew. It was different all the time. And we had our favorites, but one of our favorites was like the Indonesian pork satay with peanut sauce. I mean, that's what we would have at Christmas time. She'd make bami goreng. And so, we grew up with a pretty, what I call an adventurous palate.
That's what I was just thinking. I was like, you're saying A&G and this, but you were far from A&G. You're like high end at home. It was just crazy.
But
good.
I mean, just good tasting food. So I started cooking with a girlfriend of mine, kind of helping her. She actually went to culinary school in France, in Paris for like a summer. Came back, started doing some catering, and I started helping her with that. Then she got a job at the Louis XVI, in the Marie Antoinette Hotel. And then she got a job as a chef at a restaurant where Luke is now. It was at 333 Bank Building.
St. Charles, yeah.
333 St. Charles. And a guy named Bob Gurton opened a restaurant there called Gurton's, a lunch restaurant, and he hired Pamela to be the chef, and then she hired me, and we started cooking there together, and then we both got fired.
Yeah, like what are those people saying now?
Well,
Right?
well, that's what I have to say. When he called me in to fire me, he fired us because we wouldn't do a lot of the dishes that he wanted us to do.
He had standards.
He used to try to make up recipes, and they weren't that good. And Pam was doing more, French style. But he said, well, I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that we're closing for 4th of July for 3 days. And the bad news is you won't be working here when we come back. And I was like, and I just summoned all my dignity, and I said, well, I think you're making a mistake.
Yes. That's all that needs to be said.
That's
The end
all
of
I
that
said.
story. Exclamation mark. Boom. Done. And I bet what's his name? What's his name?
He's not in the restaurant business anymore. He was he was an insurance salesman who became a restaurateur. But anyway, he gave us the opportunity
to branch out and do
he
your thing.
did. So then we started working at the Louis XVI together, and then when Pamela left there, Danielle became my mentor, and just pushed me really hard to do more than I thought I could do. So that's what a good mentor does, I think. Pushes you out of your comfort zone, teaches you, and then for me that was really important because I didn't have the confidence. I was 26 when I started. That's pretty late for a cook, So,
I was thinking it was early, but I guess it is late for a cook.
I mean,
but you had all the stuff already. You already had that
I had
palette.
some,
You
yeah.
had some things that you probably figured that you like, and you had a little bit of training there. But I think that it was just the food and everything was in you from your mother.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Already.
Definitely a love of and a curiosity about it. And and I would pester Danielle all the time with questions. He had all the cookbooks, French cookbooks up in his office, and I'd read them, and then I'd ask him questions all the time. But I think it was there at Louis XVI where I was working away one day, maybe cleaning a case of artichokes or something, and I just was like, hey, I can do this. This is something I can do. And I had really been looking for something creative to do, to really sink my teeth into, and
it worked
this was
out.
it. And it really was kind of an epiphany, it was like, this is what I'm meant to do.
Wow.
It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it felt,
fantastic.
I can tell you, it felt at 26, I was kind of wondering if I was going to find it, and it was a real, it was exciting and a relief and, inspiring all at the same time to feel like I had landed in a place that was going to just really feed that hunger,
Feed your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So, New Orleans culture is something special, and I feel like the kitchen is a workplace, is more than a workplace. What made you decide at the time to take a step back, like right now, just a little bit?
Well, I'm old.
Only clothes get old. People get better, Susan. Yes.
Well, I'm aging like fine wine then.
Yes.
But, just, like I said, I mean, up until about last year, up until about a year or so ago, I could work those long days and I enjoyed it, but it really started just taking more of a physical toll on me within the last, my back started hurting, that kind of stuff. I'm fine up to about 8 hours, 9 hours, but anything over that, my back starts, stuff like that. So, it's just kind of nature taking its course, but also it's time to, I started in 79, so this year is my 47th year.
47, wow, yeah.
And I always say chef years are like dog years, so, if you multiply that by... Yeah. The number of 60 to 80 hour weeks I worked, it feels like longer.
But for me, as a person on the outside, I just think about all the amazing things you've done along the way.
It's been fun, man. It's been fun.
Really.
It's been great for me. It's been a great career that I have honestly say, well, you're always going to have your bad moments, but perfect, overall, really? It's been a real fun ride. I mean, back in the 90s, you had all the celebrity chef stuff, and I got to cook on cruise ships and see the world, and I got to...
You were a judge on Bravo for Top Chef.
Yeah, Top Chef, and I got to, do a lot of... I did a lot of schlepping of food across the country for charity events. That was a real big thing in the 90s. Lots and lots of those. It's great in many ways because you're able to use your talents for good, which I enjoyed.
A lot of people.
And it was also a way to see your peers and your colleagues and see what other chefs were doing. And, it was like a reunion. I did the Taste of the NFL for 20 years, and it was a lot of the same chefs every year. So we would... it was like a reunion with the chefs and the football players, and it was great. That started up in Minneapolis.
Such a decorated career. It's just fun. Like to think about those things and all the things that you've done, Susan, just amazing. I'm sitting here, I feel like the Matrix. You touch it like, it really is.
That's nice. Thank you.
And you do it with such class and ease. And I know things aren't easy and they're not, but the way that you just carried yourself the whole time, like you seem like there's not ever a bad thing. You're always just leading the pack, constantly in front of things, very nice. Cutting edge.
Thank you. Well, not so much anymore. I wouldn't, but I did a lot of, I had my day, and I also want to just, say that I've had a lot of great people working with me. A lot of my chefs and sous chefs have gone on to do great things, and that's been really meaningful to me. And sometimes it's just, the people you work with is so much fun. The restaurant business is a very colorful business. I never, I was a secretary at an insurance company once, wow. But other than that, I never really, never really had, I guess, what you would call a straight job, Right. The restaurant business satisfied a lot of things for me. The creativity, the social aspect, the physical, and it's just every restaurant that you work in becomes a family.
Yeah, and it's really, I had brief moments in a restaurant. It was like my first one ever was like, I think I worked at store number 1 for Copeland's.
Oh, wow.
Over at Lakeview.
Yeah.
But and the thing I got from that is the teamwork.
Yeah.
The camaraderie.
It's essential.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just like everything. And I love the flow. It's a crazy time, like especially when you get in the weeds.
Yes.
I love the controlled chaos about it.
Yeah.
And like you either like that or you like freaking out about it.
You're right.
It's one or the other. And I loved the whole flow of let's go. It helped the time go, and I learned a lot of things.
Being busy is definitely more fun.
Yeah.
But it can be stressful if you're not prepared. It's all in the mise en place. And actually, my mother getting ready for her dinner parties, taught me a lot because she had a lot of dinner parties, she and my dad, and she always managed to have a fantastic meal prepared ahead of time. And she was out there doing the cha-cha and playing charades and still doing this meal that would blow people away. So I got a lot of my joie de vivre from her.
From youth to be where you are like right now. That's very true. And with New Orleans being one of the most competitive culinary scenes in the country, What do you feel the secret? What do you feel your secret is in having success for a restaurant over 4 decades? Really, I mean, it's 4 decades, yeah. But
we're going on with, I mean, it's hard work. It's having a good work ethic. It's it challenges you in a lot of ways. You got to be organized. I really enjoy I always tell my cooks, do the math. I mean, I like calculating. Whenever I was doing those events across the country, I had to, I'd have to have 600 portions of something, and I would have to bring that food with me. So I had to really do a lot of calculating, and it was, my goal was always like have enough to last, but don't have a lot of leftovers and waste, although, sometimes it went to
I would
food
imagine
banks
you
and
probably
stuff,
was out every time because people would like tear that stuff up.
But so there's that challenge of the business side of it. There's especially once the whole celebrity chef thing. There was the personality part and being the face of the restaurant and meeting your customers. And, for me, that was a really fun part of it, because they became...
Seeing that growing up again, like going back to your mom, because that's where it is, like her parties. I mean, your mom, she seems like a very, very cool,
she was.
Like about town type lady who just really had a lot of skills, and she loved to bring people together.
She did.
And make people have a good time.
Yeah. She really did. And, so that's what the restaurant business is about, too. And managing people. And I would say the whole restaurant business, the restaurant world has gone through some big, big changes in the last, 10 years, I would say. There's, what they call the restaurant reckoning is just, some of the abuse, some of the, some of the things that the pressure that people were put under physically, the expectations of, working when you're sick and stuff like that. I mean, there's been a lot of bad practices in the restaurant business. I have tried not to be like that,
I guess a lot of competition and things, and people are just going the more
the higher the expectations, the more pressure, and sometimes that leads to really bad behavior from the top down. There's a lot happening right now. There's the Danish chef from Noma, which was rated the top restaurant in the world, has come under extreme scrutiny these last couple of weeks. For his behavior and a lot of, actual physical abuse as well as mental abuse, and a lot of people coming forward. But I think since COVID, there's been, a lot of changes made. People trying to pay a more
attention to
pay a better living wage, more attention to,
we try to get better as humans, and that's one of the things, is correcting some things in life, because when we get older, I mean, we don't do the things that we did 10 years ago. Maybe we look at it differently and say, hey, maybe I shouldn't do this. Not in a bad way, but just this way is easier. I always look at it like
good.
Millennials, right? Because my daughter is borderline. She's a millennial, really. But I'm like, they actually do some things that we're doing that's better. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean like everything that they do is better, but as time goes, we learn how to do things better in a certain way. And that's fixing ourselves too. Like things we may have done before, like, whoa, maybe we need to correct that. Because some things, I think that's the beauty of making everything better, whatever it is correcting some of the things that we may have thought was great.
Yeah,
as far as like foods too. Like you may say, okay, I used to use this. Now I realize that this is causing something. Let me go with a different ingredient.
Whether it's, cooking more healthy or whatever, I have to try to use less salt because I love salty things, salty, crunchy, and, the old blood pressure isn't.
Well, you look great, by the way. You do not
so much.
You definitely look great. So over the years, you've run many kitchens. What leadership style do you develop over the years? And which styles do you feel are most important?
Well, I think when I opened Bayona, that was probably a more high stress situation for me, and I may not have been as nice as I could have been. I think, unfortunately, sarcasm was kind of my, go-to method of, not always.
That restaurant is amazing, by the way. Whatever you did, you guys were doing, it was beautiful.
It's a beautiful place, and I was, my partner Regina let me have free run of the kitchen, and now Chef Christiane Giron is there, and she actually started working for me when she was about 19 at Bayona, and started in the pantry.
That's a very organic, beautiful situation right there.
And so she's come full circle, and she is just doing the most wonderful, amazing food and introducing a lot of vegan and vegetarian things, but still really, tasty and delicious and beautiful. So I've learned, just as we were talking about, I've learned to correct some of my attitude, and I learned, I think a lot of it was just having those high expectations and expecting everybody to be as motivated as you are. As an owner, that's, maybe not always so realistic. So you have to, and it's also challenging. I've always strived to be a better manager of people and try to find ways to motivate people. And you have to motivate people differently because they're, for some, it's about money. For others, it's about the career and the food and the process. And everybody's motivated by different things. But you have to have kind of the same set of rules, but you have to learn how to deal with people differently. Just the same way that, if somebody didn't do well on one station in the kitchen, I would try them somewhere else, in another part of the kitchen. Maybe they were better at prep and didn't like that,
rather than just
pressure of service.
Yeah, you just move them around. That's a great leadership spot. That's a great leadership.
You try it that way, and often, I would say more often than not, it works. If you see something in somebody and they seem like they want to do a good job, then just find a place where they're going to be their best. So that has worked for me. And cross training is really important. It's something we do a lot at Rosedale, and it's a small, tiny little kitchen, so it's easy to do.
But the values are still there.
Yeah, and it's valuable for the employees, and it's valuable for us. So if somebody doesn't show up, there's usually somebody who can jump in on that station. And my goal, I've always said, and this is really true, that my goal when I hire somebody is to make them a more valuable and more well-rounded cook when they leave. I take pride in that. I want them to go to the next place and have somebody say, oh, you worked with Susan. Well, you must,
certain standards that people know when they come from you that they have there. That's another amazing leadership thing, because you're like preparing them for the future, not just saying, okay, you're going to be here. You're like, okay, look, down the road, this is going to help you out.
Well, there are certain universal things that every chef is going to look for, initiative, fundamental skills, but also initiative and, well-rounded, good, attitude, and just, there's a lot of things that you can instill, good habits, how to work clean, how to, see the big picture, help the whole kitchen, not just focus on one station, that kind of thing, So I try, and Allie's a really good teacher, and, all my chefs and sous chefs have been good teachers and enjoy that.
I mean, I just can't stop thinking about how much of a pioneer that you are, what I mean? And just going out there and doing it and then getting, so many people, when they go in the restaurant business, it's like you have, I don't know how many employees it is, but all those are your kids, and they all have their lives that they're dealing with all the time. And you have to constantly handle, imagine 30 kids or 20 kids, they're like, I can't make it today. I can't do this today. And I'll back to that controlled chaos. I think that you, from the outside, have made it look so much fun, so easy, all the glamorous stuff. Because
but it really takes
so
a team to do
it.
that. One person can't do it by themselves. You got to really have, the support there, and that's what's really fun for me. The other thing I love the most in the kitchen is collaboration. I love working. Two heads are better than one. I love working with my chefs and sous chefs, on menu items, new things, specials, and saying, I like coming up with an idea and then saying, well, here's what I would put in it. What do you think? And then they'll go like, yeah, but I would, add some fish sauce instead of, salt. And then you go, oh, yeah,
that's another good leadership quality thing. Because a lot of chefs, they kind of want to, not a lot, but I would think that, they want to make sure and like be not overbearing, but it's their name and it's their thing, So, but for you to open up and say, what do you think? Like what? I mean, I think that's a part of your longevity because you open up and have them feel like they're actually a part of it besides just being like a worker ant.
Yeah, I don't want to just, do my little thing and not, I want, when I'm working on something special, I really want my cooks to come by and go, hey chef, what are you making? How are you making that? What's the deal? I want that curiosity. I want to share.
But you had that inquisitiveness yourself too, because when you were just talking about Louis XVI, you were like, I would always ask him this, this, but that inquisitiveness is what.
Oh, it's important. Yeah. It's how you grow.
That's awesome. I love it. Now, great restaurants have certain glamour. What's something that is about the restaurant industry that you feel goes unnoticed and misunderstood in public?
I think the costs of what it takes to run a successful restaurant, and even just today, I mean, it's always going to just get more and more challenging. But post-COVID, I would say has been just made a huge difference in everything. The cost of ingredients, the cost of labor. Just I remember I remember when I was at Mondo, I had I think there was a pizza or something that we were serving, and it had certain kind of cheese on it, and the guy said, can I get extra cheese? And I charged him $1 for it because we don't use commodity. We're not using commodity stuff. We're sourcing really good quality things. And, the guy got really angry and said, if you're going to charge me $1 for extra cheese, that's just, you're losing a customer over $1. And I was like, well, I don't get it for free.
Right.
Why should you? We already give you, we did pickles and things on the, we already have things that we give for free. Some
people you can't please, right? And especially when it comes to like great ingredients, right? Like if someone wants something, it costs money. It costs, especially to bring it in.
When I go to a restaurant, if I ask for extra something, I'll say I'm happy to pay for it. I would, just say if I got it for free, I'd give it to you for free. But
now the thing is, your time, all of that stuff is definitely a thing.
That's right.
And most people, I would think, 90% of the people, that guy was probably in the 10%. Please give me double.
Saying, some people do not.
Yeah. That goes
don't
unnoticed,
realize
right?
the costs, and
that's
just
a very valid point.
And everybody, people talk about restaurant owners and making all this money off the backs of their employees, but the restaurant business is a historically low profit, business. I mean,
and overworked.
McDonald's, maybe, the big chains. Yeah, they found a formula, and
I would think the preparation too is another thing that goes
unbelievable.
unnoticed.
You wouldn't believe the amount of prep.
After,
and we have a pretty simple. We have a lot of sandwiches on our recipe, but like for the duck pastrami sandwich, we get the duck breasts, we cure them for 2 days, we smoke them, then we roast them, we make the Russian dressing. We pickle the cabbage. There's so many steps that we make all of these things that go. It's a huge amount of prep. It's probably crazy, and
I focus myself on trying to not think about the next question or think about be right in the moment. But when you start talking about your food, I just lose. And I'm like, when am I going to get some of that? Should I go after this?
I should have brought something. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, everybody, when they see you, they just think food. She's awesome. It's like you got to have like
I know. I should carry around a pack.
And look, I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about one of your favorite sayings.
How you know that?
I do know that. So
begin with the end in mind.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that. Well, I think it's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people. I didn't really read the book, but I kind of I skimmed it. But for some reason, and I think that might even be the 7th one or whatever, it just jumped out at me, and it just makes so much sense to me. For anything. I think, visualizing your goals, whether you want to use it in a more philosophical way,
I took it on, by the way.
Yeah.
It really made me think a lot.
Yeah, it's working towards something. But, specifically, like when I talk in the kitchen, I tell them like, okay, we got a party of 50 people and they want gumbo. How do I know how much gumbo to make? And this is all one of my big sayings is do the math, and so I say, okay, well, I'm going to give, X number of ounces of gumbo to 50 people. So now I know I need to make 50 times 8 ounces is so many, 2 gallons or 3 gallons, whatever it is. And then you work backwards, to figure out the ingredients and how how to interpret the recipe for that. And it cuts down a lot on waste. I mean, that for me, that and doing the math is all about cutting down on waste, but also, having that picture in your mind of what you want to make and how to get there. And it's just, like
it's a lovely thing. And the thing that you said, I was going to say it doesn't have to be your food, though. It can be anything that you do.
It's practical, but it's also philosophical, and it works for me on a lot of levels.
I love that. I love that saying. So, like, I have these big 6 things, speaking of sayings that we always talk about. I always say, like, the key to a good foundation of your life, you have to do these. People always say, hey, man, you have a great life. And you do all these things. I say, and I do. And I try, and I don't say try anymore. I gave up the word try in 2026. I say I'm doing, right?
That's good. So taking that action.
Yes, exactly. And so you always have to have empathy, humility, and compassion for yourself first. That's the first 3 things. Because people are highly motivated like yourself. A lot of times we kind of tend to focus on the next thing that we got to do rather than like say, last week was really rough, and I really crushed it, and I did that. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I'm going to pour a little Gatorade on myself. I'm going to celebrate me. We don't really do that a lot.
Yeah.
And we need to. That's so important because we are highly motivated people just constantly climbing that ladder. Instead of looking at where we have to go, be thankful for where we're coming from. That's the first 3. The last 3 is always help people, because when you help people, it's an inside job, and you start to feel it. And then always try to be better, because we're going to make mistakes. We're going to maybe make a recipe that's not where we wanted to be, or maybe we're going to be late for an appointment. Maybe we don't send an email. We're just humans. Nobody's perfect.
Or handling a situation with somebody. I've had to go back and apologize to, some of my employees and say, look, I didn't, I shut down that idea really fast, but I'd like to hear more about it. Tell me about it.
I hear you saying all this stuff. I was like, man, I wish I worked for Susan. I wish you got a really great, and trust me, it took some time to get there, like you said, but and then the last one is one of my favorite ones. The 6th thing, it's leave the world better than you found it. How can you do that? You can do it with air, with food, with water. But what I'm talking about is having a good encounter with someone, whether you're at the post office, the gas station, or the supermarket. Just a kind, like we woke up this morning, and you and I don't know the person. We go out to have a good encounter with someone.
Those little things are so meaningful, aren't they? They feel so good.
And that's the things that I think that life is really about, is those little bitty moments, those little, not so, trust me, we have big things, but those little things that really, and so those are 6 things that I feel that people can do. That's very important that we don't always
And
do.
Gratitude, like you were talking about.
Yes, 3 times a day.
I will tell you, every time, I think almost every single time I get in a hot shower, I think I am so grateful that this is available to me, that I can just do this whenever I want to. I can have a glass of cold water whenever I want to. You know, those things, you just go like, how lucky are we?
And see, Susan, that says a lot about you, because that's something that humans, we overlook a lot of things that are just right there for us.
Yeah.
You know, and those 2 things are very important. You know, some of the things that bum me out is when I see homeless people, or unhoused people rather, during the element, like whether it's extremely hot, extremely cold, rainy, whatever. Like, it just breaks my heart. Like, I cannot get it out of my mind. Like, I always want to help them, but that rings a bell to me when you think about, man, I can take a hot shower today. It's just like, 'cause some people, weeks, months, no shower. You know, just being grateful for those little bitty things are so important, Susan. And that's who you are. And that, I mean, and you really had a good upbringing as far as preparing you for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have
so
a great
we're gonna
family.
get you out of
Love
here
my family.
on a couple of little quick things that I always like to ask people about. Right?
The lightning round.
Yes, I'll call it the lanyap lightning round.
Okay.
So, and there's no right or wrong answer, by the way.
Gotcha.
So, your favorite New Orleans ingredient to cook with, and if it's more than one, you could say that.
Eggplant.
Oh, really?
I mean, I just love it. I say I love it any way that you can make it, except undercooked.
Oh, wow.
I don't like it undercooked.
So
I
now,
love eggplant.
I normally don't ask the question, but I want to ask the question about this. My favorite food is okra. Like, all-time favorite. My grandma used to cook stewed okra with shrimp and sausage over rice.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, that's
so delicious.
So delicious. That's one of the things that I mentioned that I used to eat at Buster Holmes, but I went to France and I was his assistant cooking at the Jazz Festival in Nice, France for 4 years. And Buster taught me a lot of cool things, talk about New Orleans food. He taught me about okra, how to pour vinegar over it, not make it ropey, as he called it. That's what he said. Yeah, you sprinkle a little vinegar.
See?
That's what he,
There you go, guys. Getting all kinds of stuff over here at the Only Good Vibes News Network.
I love okra too.
It's awesome. And the next one is a word for New Orleans food scene. It could be more than one word.
Well, I would say right now it's diverse.
Yes.
I mean, it is grown by leaps and bounds, the different kinds of foods that we have here now, and so exciting. Kind of started with the whole, I would guess, kind of the new sort of bistro style restaurants that started in the 80s, and then the whole Vietnamese influx, and then it's just, gone in all directions
we have so many
from
people
that.
here. We have like German, Spanish, Irish, Italian,
Yeah, so it's always been a great mix, but now more than ever, and you've got the Latino, contributions, and oh my gosh, and now, all the
it's so awesome.
Mishmashes are so much fun.
That's awesome. I think about it, and I often when I think about when I'm sitting here talking to you, like, you've seen so many things in the beginning and to just come to a culmination now. I don't want to make it seem like, okay, it was no color TV, and then all of a sudden it was color TV.
It's just like what you see in the grocery stores now. What can you not find in the grocery store? You can find, back in the day when I started cooking, I mean, finding fresh mushrooms, little button mushrooms, that was very, we were real excited when we got those. And now you get, all kinds of mushrooms and you get your rice noodles and your, salsa and your, just anything you can think of, you can buy in a grocery store.
That's awesome. And that's a unique cooking experience, meaning like where did you cook like one of the unique things that you, either a dish or a unique place?
Oh, wow.
I mean, I know you've been to France, you've been like all over the world cooking. So, I mean, any one of those places.
Probably cooking on those, in 1989, when I got the Food and Wine, best new chef kind of thing, that opened the door. They started doing these culinary cruises on cruise ships, and I got invited to cook on the Cunard, the Sea Goddess, which was a small, incredibly beautiful luxury ship. It was like 600, 800 passengers. Yeah, so like not the thousands and thousands, like really. And I went my very first one was from Bali to Singapore, going up through Malaysia and Indonesia. And that, I had to cook 2 dinners. And, I also got to stop and I got to go to Borobudur and, just like some of them, and Bali and, just some incredibly beautiful places. But I also had some cooking challenges. I sent them my list of ingredients for my dishes, like, weeks and weeks in advance. And I had to translate everything into like kilos and
wow.
Yeah,
right.
Grams and all that stuff. And I was going to do my cream of garlic soup for one of the dinners, and for that it required something like 2 gallons of peeled garlic. And they're like, well, and I met with, so the ship sailed, and then I met with the bursar the next morning to go over the list of ingredients, and he's like, so for the garlic we have 1.5 kilo of garlic, which is like 1/10 of what I needed. And so I was just like, okay, well, that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to do a different soup. And he said, well, just go in the storeroom and find something. So
what did you find?
And then he said, and we don't have oysters for your oyster salad, but we have frozen scallops. So I'm like, okay.
Remix. No, right.
So that was actually a really good lesson for me, because I learned how to pivot and how to be flexible and just, roll with the punches. It was really, and I had to do that a little bit every time I went on one of those ships.
That's what I was going to say. I bet that made you learn. You're like, know what? I got some expectations, but you never know.
Yeah.
You might have to...
I went in the storeroom and I found some old dried black beans that they had from something. I don't even know what. So I made black bean soup,
Awesome.
But it was fun.
That's very cool.
So it was a combination of, beautiful travel situation and learning some good lessons.
I mean, you had to, I was thinking, I'm sitting here and I'm going to myself, maybe you didn't do it at the time, but I would be pinching myself. You were like, wow.
Oh, yeah,
really
absolutely. Every time I got back on that ship and they were waiting with a tray of champagne for you to come back on, after you had gone off to see some amazing part of the world. Oh, yeah, it was.
So beautiful career. Such a beautiful
fabulous
career. Such a beautiful career.
A lot of lovely memories.
What's an inspiring dish? What inspires you to create a new dish?
Usually the ingredients, or, something I've eaten somewhere that
you want to make your own.
Was really great, but, maybe had one element that I didn't care for or something. And I'll go like,
let me do it for the people who may not like this.
I mean, the garlic soup I wanted to create because I had a boyfriend who used to travel to Mexico a lot, and he came back and he was always talking about sopa de ajo. When in Mexico they do it with broth and garlic, and they break an egg in it and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I want to come up with my version of this.
There you go.
So, things like that.
Coming up, making dishes your own.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. And this is the last one.
Okay.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Yes. Awesome.
Salty,
Susan.
crunchy.
Nice. Susan, first of all, I want to say thank you for your time, because I always tell people that time is the most important thing. And being a big fan and a friend, and you're not retiring, you're only like pausing a little bit. I brought a gift for you.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well, I was really
It's
looking
some
forward to this
selfish,
too. Oh, come on.
Whistle Monster
Oh my
bobblehead
gosh,
doll.
thank you so much.
And you got a sticker here you can put on somewhere.
I shall.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And we've had some good memories. I ran into you in Minneapolis.
Yes, always. You really
at the game that they lost
Yes,
miserably,
exactly.
but still.
But I'm telling you right now, it's so special to me because I cherish you like a real friend. Like you're a famous person, and I happen to have that a lot. I guess it's just I'm blessed to have the same energy and things like that with people like yourself. And the garlic soup, I cannot get out of my mind. I can't. I'm like, there's so many things. The duck pastrami. You're gonna be seeing me real soon.
I hope so.
Susan,
I hope so.
thank you. You've done it all. You've seen it all, and thank you so much for your time. And remember, guys, share, like, subscribe to Only Good Vibes News Network. We really appreciate you. Your time is very important, and we know that your time, you could do anything that you want to with it, but you chose to be here with us. And our lovely guests, the great Susan Spicer, has not disappointed. I cannot wait, Susan, to see what you're going to be doing next. I'm ready for it.
Well, thanks for sharing your good vibes.
Awesome. Thanks, Susan.
Walking, stepping down the street, y'all, talking. Never know who you're gonna